it's, I think, interesting that certainly for John Vane, the two areas in which he's made the greatest contribution, the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, which was really done under his influence and his continuous encouragement. I mean, the fact that he didn't actually do very many of the experiments is irrelevant. The point of he was up there telling us to go on, do it. And in fact, he fought for the compound in Squibb when he was consulting there, and he was kept on saying, you must commercialize this, you must commercialize it, you must commercialize this, and they were very reluctant to. Anyway, both in the angiotensin converting enzyme and in fact in the prostaglandin business and aspirin, at the time he made his, if you like, his critical discoveries, his critical experiments, he was an incomer. He'd had no background. He had absolutely no background in the renin-angiotensin system. There were people in the Cleveland Clinic who'd been working with the renin-angiotensin system for years and years and years. And this guy from England with, you know, a Brazilian and this venom goose comes in and says, hey guys, I've got this wonderful new idea and it's got to... I'm not surprised people didn't believe him because he had no background. You would have the same reaction now if somebody comes in off the street, I've got this great idea. What have you been doing the last 5 years? Oh, I've been doing something. And the same thing with aspirin. I mean, he got involved in the whole of the aspirin story, not because he was interested really in prostaglandins or had done any previous work on prostaglandins, but because Priscilla Piper came from Harry Collier's lab to do a PhD on a project which Harry Collier had essentially invented, and John said, oh yes, I think we can have a look at that problem using my cascade bioassay technique. And he said, all right, okay, come. So Priscilla came over and she was doing she did the experiments. Priscilla was doing those experiments looking at anaphylaxis and the effects of aspirin on anaphylaxis, because if you look at Harry Collier's work, he was pretty convinced that the effect of aspirin on a guinea pig in anaphylaxis, which was known then to be, as it were, beneficial, was connected with bradykinin. He really, I think, believed it was either bradykinin antagonist was aspirin, or aspirin somehow blocked the inhibition, blocked the formation of bradykinin. And it was, if you like, typical of the way science works out, that the very first figure in the classical Piper and Vane paper, which dealt with products of guinea pig anaphylaxis, showed quite clearly that although there was all sorts of stuff coming out of a lung during anaphylaxis, none of it was bradykinin. So sadly, the very first result blew a hole in Harry Collier's theory. And at the back of that, there was a set of results showed that aspirin and or indomethacin prevented the release of all these things from an anaphylactic lung. But at that stage, in that paper, nobody knew how it happened. They knew it happened, but they didn't know any idea how it happened. And so the point is, John Vane had absolutely no idea about prostaglandin. He knew something about, bradykinin, and what attracted him was this new material which appeared to come out of the guinea pig lung, which he called RCS, which didn't behave like anything that we'd seen before, and that had been apparently switched off if you treated the lung with aspirin or with indomethacin. And it took him 2 years to actually do the experiment, the critical experiment. John Vane came in and saw me one day, and he said, see me one day in the lab, and he said, Mick, he said, is there any reason why aspirin should interfere with the metabolism of arachidonic acid? We knew arachidonic acid was the precursor to the prostaglandins. He said, is there any reason why it should interfere with that metabolism? And I said, no, there's no reason. I mean, and that's right. There is no reason. You'd expect the best way of interfering with the metabolism of arachidonic acid is to have an analog of arachidonic acid, another fatty acid with slightly the wrong stereochemistry, which would block up everything. Not something like aspirin, which is a short, stubby compound, acetyl salicylic acid, very small compound, nothing like the long, wobbly thing which arachidonic acid is like. And, you know, there was no reason. But you see, he went ahead and did the unreasonable experiment because he had a feeling, and bingo, that's it. Do the unreasonable experiment sometimes, and it works.